Damon Salvatore is charming.
I'll keep her away.
How? She's an original. Last time I checked, we're out of daggers.
So then, preoccupy her with your charm.
Reckless.
Frank?
I'm 28 weeks pregnant.
Is that a yes or a no?
And about as law-abiding as a raccoon in a grocery store. If Mystic Falls had a functional legal system, he wouldn't just be in trouble. He'd be the town's most wanted fugitive. His crimes aren't just minor slip-ups or misunderstandings. He's been breaking the law for over a century with the kind of confidence that only an immortal being could have. But just how long would his prison sentence be if the law ever caught up to him? Before getting into the real felonies, it's worth looking at the smaller offenses, the kind of things that wouldn't necessarily put him away for life, but would definitely get him arrested. First on the list is trespassing. Damon treats private property like an open invitation. He walks into homes unannounced, sneaks into restricted areas, and has a habit of making himself comfortable in
This is not my fault.
other people's spaces
Damon, towel, not.
long before he's actually welcome. There was the time he casually strolled into Elena's bedroom,
What are you doing?
completely ignoring the fact that they weren't even friends yet. In the real world, trespassing carries a penalty of up to 6 months in jail per offense. If we assume Damon has done this at least 50 times, which is a conservative estimate, he'd already be looking at 25 years behind bars. Then there's the drinking.
I bet you two idiots. Mystic Falls, amateur.
It's no secret that Damon spends most of his time with a glass of bourbon in his hand.
Come as a shock, but I am not.
While it's not illegal to drink, he does it in places filled with minors,
Idiots. Mystic Falls, amateur.
and often while committing other crimes. Public intoxication, reckless behavior,
I think I know what can help you.
What's that?
Death.
and drinking in the presence of underage people
Idiots. Mystic Falls, amateur.
could all rack up hefty fines. He wouldn't serve jail time for it, but he'd owe more in penalties than the Gilbert family ever collected in tragic life insurance payouts. Damon doesn't just break into places,
You should really lock your door.
he destroys them.
You're gonna feel everything. You're gonna drown all over again. It's gonna take you back to the.
Between throwing people through walls, smashing furniture, and occasionally burning buildings to the ground,
I know what I signed up for, Damon. And I'm all in.
he has single-handedly contributed to Mystic Falls' ridiculous repair budget. In real-world terms, destruction of property can land someone anywhere from 1 to 5 years in prison per offense. Given the number of storefronts, homes, and bars he's left in ruins, he'd easily be looking at 40 years for property damage alone. At this point, his total sentence is already at 65 years, and none of this includes the violent offenses. Damon has a habit of attacking people just because he feels like it. He breaks bones, snaps necks like twigs,
I think I know what can help you.
What's that?
Death.
and drains humans for blood as if they're walking juice boxes. If this were real life, these acts would fall under assault with intent to harm, which carries up to 5 years per victim. When the injuries become more serious, such as breaking bones or rendering someone unconscious, it escalates to aggravated assault, which can lead to 10 years per incident. If Damon attacks at least one person per episode, and considering the Vampire Diaries ran for 8 seasons, that's a minimum of 171 counts of assault. If convicted for each one, he'd be facing 850 years in prison just for his casual acts of violence. Then there's compulsion.
You're gonna go out of town for a long while.
Damon doesn't just hurt people physically. He wipes their memories,
God, she didn't have to forget this.
controls their actions,
Please take me.
and manipulates them into doing whatever he wants.
And right now, you wanna kiss me?
In legal terms, this would be classified as coercion,
Much better. You want to throw a party here at the...
a serious crime that carries up to 10 years in prison per victim. Since compulsion is often used to cover up his other crimes, it also falls under witness tampering, which adds another 5 years per case. Damon has done this to more people than anyone could count. But let's go easy on him and assume he's only had 50 major cases of compulsion. That would still add another 750 years to his sentence. By now, Damon is looking at over 1,600 years in prison, and we haven't even touched on the murders. So far, it's been minor offenses: trespassing, vandalism, and public intoxication
Waiting. Permanent death.
I see. So my misery.
that have escalated into more serious crimes like physical assault and compulsion. His sentence is already long enough that no amount of supernatural charm could get him a reduced plea deal. But things are about to get much worse. The crimes that define Damon as more than just a reckless vampire are still ahead. The first real murders, the cover-ups,
All right.
I'm doing it the same.
You can insect him.
Look, I'll go to his place, see if I can find any actual evidence before you go bar.
and the point where any judge would simply throw away the key. Damon Salvatore's criminal record is already staggering, and we haven't even reached the truly horrifying offenses. But things are about to take a darker turn. Damon isn't just reckless, he's a murderer.
Gotta hit the reset button.
And not the kind that could ever claim self-defense. His next charges would make the first 1,600 years of his sentence look like community service. Murder is where Damon truly stands out. His body count rivals that of an entire crime syndicate, and it's not just about the number of lives he's taken, it's the ease with which he does it.
Your temporary funeral.
If there's one thing he's mastered over the years, it's the art of casual homicide.
Do is flip the switch instead.
Killing someone isn't just a last resort for him. Sometimes it's his version of problem solving. In the real world, first-degree murder, premeditated and intentional, carries a sentence of 25 years to life per victim. Second-degree murder, which covers impulsive killings, isn't much better, usually ranging from 15 years to life. The problem is, Damon doesn't just kill in the heat of the moment. He does it often. And sometimes just for fun.
You see it.
His early days in Mystic Falls are proof enough. If someone even slightly inconveniences him, they end up with a broken neck. He kills civilians, authority figures, and even family. When they get in his way, founding family members, town council members, innocent strangers. It doesn't matter. Every single one of these deaths would land him a life sentence, and multiple life sentences don't stack up nicely like a video game penalty. The more he racks up, the less chance there is of parole. Then there are the deaths that weren't just impulsive. Damon has been responsible for several elaborate killings where his victims never had a fighting chance. One of his worst acts came when he slaughtered an entire party of people just to prove a point. Mass murder isn't just another charge. It escalates things into the realm of crimes against humanity. If he were on trial in an international court, that alone could land him a sentence harsher than anything a regular prison could handle. Governments don't look kindly on people who rack up a triple-digit kill count, even if they happen to be a charming vampire with good hair. Covering up a murder is a crime in itself, and Damon has done it more times than anyone can count. It's not just about making a body disappear. It's about manipulating evidence, coercing witnesses, and ensuring that the law never catches up to him. Every time he compels someone to forget a murder, he's committing witness tampering, which could add another 10 years per instance. If he weren't a supernatural creature, there wouldn't be a police force on Earth large enough to keep up with his crimes. Then there's the problem of his victims who didn't just die, but were forcibly turned into vampires.
No! Damon, no!
In legal terms, this wouldn't just be assault. It would count as forced transformation, a form of bodily harm that could be classified as aggravated assault at best and human experimentation at worst. Turning someone into a vampire without consent strips them of their right to live a normal life, permanently altering their biology in ways they never agreed to. If forced vampirism were treated the same way as illegal human experimentation, Damon would be violating some of the strictest international laws in existence. In a court of law, involuntary human experimentation is considered a crime against humanity, punishable by a life sentence or even the death penalty in some countries. And he's done it casually, sometimes just to prove a point. At this point, his list of charges is beyond what any lawyer could hope to defend. The sheer number of murders alone makes it clear that he wouldn't just be sentenced to life in prison, he'd be in a supermax facility, locked away with the most dangerous criminals in the world, if not placed on death row. But Damon has one final crime that takes everything he's done and makes it even worse. Because sometimes, he doesn't just kill for the sake of killing. Sometimes, he kills for power. The final charges that would ensure Damon never sees the light of day go beyond simple murder and into the realm of mass destruction. Entire town populations have been wiped out because of him, and there's no version of the law where someone gets away with that. His actions would be classified as terrorism, crimes against humanity, and large-scale destruction. Each of which carries the highest possible sentence. When a single crime has the potential to ruin thousands of lives, the law isn't designed to show mercy. At this stage, his crimes aren't just stacking up in years, they're pushing past the limits of what a normal human justice system could handle. A regular court wouldn't be able to process the sheer volume of offenses, and if there were any supernatural courts in existence, even they would likely have a hard time figuring out what to do with him. But no matter how you look at it, the outcome is the same. Damon Salvatore wouldn't just be in prison for life, he'd be there until the very end of time. Damon Salvatore's crimes have already stacked up to an unimaginable level. If he were human, he'd be locked away in a supermax prison with no chance of parole. But there's still more to add to his list of offenses. Beyond murder, beyond destruction, beyond forced transformation, Damon has committed crimes so severe that in certain parts of the world, they would warrant execution. At this point, even calling him a serial killer feels like an understatement. What he's done goes beyond personal violence. He has left entire towns in ruins, manipulated people on a scale that no single human could, and even played a role in mass-level destruction. The law isn't designed to handle supernatural criminals, but if it were, Damon wouldn't just be a fugitive. He'd be a worldwide threat. Mass murder is bad enough, but when it's done with a strategic goal in mind, it escalates into something far worse. Some of Damon's most extreme crimes aren't just random killings, they're calculated moves to assert power. He's wiped out groups of people simply to eliminate threats or gain the upper hand. Legally speaking, this puts him in the realm of terrorism, which comes with the harshest punishments available. In the real world, domestic terrorism carries a sentence of life in prison, often without parole. If his actions led to destruction on a citywide level, the legal system wouldn't even hesitate to call for capital punishment. Governments don't make deals with terrorists, and Damon's actions would make him public enemy number one in every country on the planet. But Damon's cruelty isn't just about the number of people he's killed, it's about how he's done it. Some of his worst crimes involve not just murder, but psychological torture. He enjoys playing games with people, making them think they're safe before completely destroying them. In the real world, prolonged psychological torment falls under inhumane treatment, a violation of human rights. And if it results in death, it escalates to crimes against humanity. These offenses don't come with standard prison time, they lead straight to international courts, where the minimum sentence is life in solitary confinement. The maximum? A death sentence, beyond psychological torture.
Rude of me. I just realized I didn't offer you anything to eat.
Damon has also been responsible for manipulating entire communities. His compulsion doesn't just affect individuals.
Because I wanted you to. Very, very badly.
There have been multiple occasions where he's used it on large groups, essentially taking control of entire towns. This would be considered an extreme form of coercion.
And now that the vervain has passed out of your system, you won't remember what you're about.
Something that is treated as a felony in nearly every country. If someone in power, say a cult leader or a dictator, were caught doing this to a population, they would be locked away for life under laws that prohibit mass manipulation and human rights violations. In supernatural terms, what Damon does is more than just persuasion.
Because I wanted you to. Very, very badly.
It's total domination.
And now that the vervain has passed out of your system, you won't remember what you're about. You're gonna open the door.
And if a court ever had the chance to put him on trial for it, he wouldn't just be facing a regular sentence. He'd be sentenced as a war criminal. And then there's the sheer destruction he has left behind. Mystic Falls has been burned, rebuilt, and burned again, largely thanks to Damon and his impulsive need for chaos. While some of that destruction wasn't entirely his fault, a lot of it was. Arson is already a serious felony, but when it results in multiple deaths and massive property damage, it can lead to a life sentence. Combine that with the other violent crimes he's committed in the process, and it only adds more years to his ever-growing sentence. At this point, even the concept of prison time starts to lose meaning. If we were to add up every single murder, every forced transformation,
No! Damon, no!
every instance of coercion,
Because you are gonna help me solve this town's little vampire problem.
and every act of destruction, Damon wouldn't just be serving multiple life sentences. He'd be facing tens of thousands of years in prison. The justice system isn't built to handle people like him, someone who can outlive their own sentence. In the real world, a death sentence would likely be the only way to truly stop him. But Damon Salvatore isn't a real-world criminal. He exists in a universe where laws can't touch him, where the people who love him often look past his crimes, and where his charm keeps him from facing any consequences. If Mystic Falls were a normal town, he would have been caught and convicted decades ago. But instead, he walks free, continuing to manipulate, destroy, and kill, without ever having to answer for his crimes. If there were a supernatural court that could hold him accountable, the only appropriate punishment would be eternal imprisonment, locked away for eternity, with no way to compel, no way to escape, and no way to charm his way out of it. In the end, Damon's sentence wouldn't just be for a few centuries. It wouldn't even be for a few thousand years. If every crime were accounted for, if every victim had their justice, Damon Salvatore would be sentenced to imprisonment that outlasts human civilization itself.